etched Rising podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us here on a Tuesday afternoon. I am Max Simpson, and the Samson Devil next to me is not Owen Evans. Thank goodness for that. It is Mr. Jake Anderson. How we doing, buddy?
Right, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, man. We got quite a lot to talk about. Recapping a little bit further, Rising's last match on Saturday, getting a point at home against Sac Republic, previewing tomorrow's matchup against North Carolina FC. It's the return of Open Cup, Phoenix Rising back in it. It's a good feeling, man. There's a lot of soccer going on.
Yeah, man. It's Cup season.
Oh boy, it hits differently.
It hits differently when you go from a Champions League into an Open Cup. It's a whole day event.
Oh man. I mean, some might say the Open Cup, way more prestigious than the Champions League. I mean,
Rising's might be the biggest cup match of Wednesday.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, make sure to drop a like as well on the screen. Right. Talking about PSG and Dortmund and all that stuff. That was a great matchup, sure. But really, the big highlight of the week, right? It's going to be Phoenix Rising traveling to North Carolina FC in the Open Cup. But of course, we're gonna get into that a little bit later in the show. Again, I want to kind of go back to Saturday's match. Again, Phoenix Rising with 1-1 draw against Sac Republic. We were there. We watched it. It was one of those said very much on the post-game, feel that either team, I guess, I wouldn't say either team deserved to win. I guess either team didn't really do too much to take the game, by the scruff of the neck, as they say. I mean, after further reflection, how do you kind of grade Rising's performance?
I think it's one of those to where both teams 100%, if you told them you're going to tie pregame, they would have said, okay, that's fine. We'll both take it. Sure. But given how the game played out, I understand why Danny was so upset after the match. For as good as Sacramento is offensively, they didn't really create all that much. They didn't really try to, they did take the lead, so obviously they were going to sit back and defend that. But they didn't really go and push up against Phoenix. Phoenix had opportunities to win this game. Obviously, the penalty chaos, right, throws a wrench into everything because they could have been up 1-0. And how does this game look after that? They potentially beat Sac at home. So I can understand why Danny was so frustrated, and it's one of those, the little things, the little stupid, dumb mistakes come back to haunt you because you go up 1-0, that game's completely different.
Oh, and that's the really crazy thing is, it's easy to say going off of stats, there's a chance here, there's a missed chance here. 1-0, does that change things? We really, I think sometimes we are over reliant, not we as in this podcast necessarily, but I think people in general within the kind of the soccer industry are so over-reliant on they missed a PK. They missed chances too. But the thing is, if you are up 1-0, we forget so often what momentum has. You can't really put a value or a statistic on what momentum can bring. And I think, especially Phoenix Rising, where they've gone off to really slow starts in a lot of matches this season, up against a rival who is undefeated in the season, being able to take that to them right before you go on a 2 match away trip. That's pretty powerful. And to not have that happen, listen, it's a bummer. I do get kind of echoing what you're saying, where Danny could be a bit disappointed. But again, I very much agree with you. If you're going to say you're going to get a draw off of this type of team, you'll take it. And we kind of said this in the postgame. It's something to build off of. It's a longer road ahead than just claiming the mantle of, yes, we were the first team to beat Sac Republic.
Yeah, it's a good stepping stone. And to what you're saying about when you're up 1-0 or not, you're going to change your play style based. If you're winning, why are we going to push up? If we're losing, why are we going to sit back? right? And so if you have an early lead, you'll get more opportunities to hit Sac, who have to push up because they have to get a goal. I think if they can take this momentum that they have built, and whether the Danny's lit a fire under their ass, right? You're going into a team now which you've never played.
Yep.
No idea what you're going to get. It's an open cup match, so you really don't know what to expect because just chaos ensues in these things. You know, Phoenix doesn't have the greatest history. Mm-hmm. They have an opportunity now to do something they've never done before. And I think that's the coolest part.
Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, it's something where this is the part in the season where I'm not going to even call it necessarily match congestion. You know, it's not like you're playing 3 matches in a week all throughout the season, but I think this is one of those where, like, to your point, Phoenix Rising historically has not made a super deep open cup run. And I think the other thing is, right, people often say it's not necessarily maybe an easier path, but once you're already in the round of 32 and becoming kind of in that knockout competition, you're essentially, in a way, it's not perfect science, there's MLS teams, yada, yada, you're essentially simulating the USL Championship playoffs, but you're now down into maybe a more condensed format. Plus, you kind of throw in the element of, hey, maybe the MLS teams, maybe they're not prioritizing it as much. This is an opportunity to take this competition by the scruff of the neck, and win it, knowing that Phoenix Rising has already won it in the USL Championship. Add on to that. Back-to-back champions. What did I say? Come on.
What I think is funny, too, is they got screwed, right, with the draw in terms of having to be double all the way. Like, even if they beat them, they have to go to either Louisville or Seattle. Yeah. But I was thinking about the USL Championship playoffs. Every game was on the road. They've proven they can do this. Mm-hmm. This is a cup match. You don't have to win. Just don't be losing after 90. Don't be losing after 120, and then put your penalties in. Like, easier said than done, and it's really heavy on the legs. But it's possible. And I think this is something now that the fact that they have won the USL Championship trophy, I think the fans collectively have been talking about this for years. You would like to see a deep run. You don't got to win it. You don't got to do what Sac did and maybe even get to the final and lose. But hey, let's win a couple, you know? Get to the round of 16. You make the last 16 in the entire country. That includes MLS teams, whether they're trying or not. And that's all, that's a whole other saga with MLS not giving a shit about this tournament. But it's like, this is a tournament, is the longest active tournament in this nation's history. And you have an opportunity to be one of the guys that maybe finish 16th or in the top 8. A chance. You don't have to win it, but like that's the beauty of this sport. Like a top 8 finish is success. A top 16 finish would be success.
I love that. Clip that. Stylaki, clip that. Yes, we got the nod. We got the thumbs up. All right, fantastic. Real time clip. Kind of thinking, right? The Open Cup is such a random equalizer. To your point, they're playing a North Carolina team. They haven't played before. We'll preview them a little bit later. But where can Rising find any bit of momentum? I'll take this if we're going to put it in a vacuum. We'll take this Sacramento matchup. Again, it's a different team, different context. Sacramento, team that's made it to the Open Cup final. Sacramento, a team that is a perennial challenger within the USL Championship. They played Rising in the Western Conference Finals last year. Is there anything we can take from this matchup? I'll even throw out a couple stats just to paint the picture and how Rising finished that matchup. Stats were pretty much identical across the board, by and large. XG, if you take out the penalty, pretty similar for both teams. Chances created, similar. Duels won, similar. Possession, similar. The one difference, field tilt. Overall, it was the same, but this is what mirrors a lot of Phoenix Rising season. The first half field tilt, 42% for Phoenix Rising, 58% for Sacramento. In the second half, it's essentially flipped. 59% for Phoenix Rising, 41% for Sacramento. Phoenix Rising came on stronger in the second half. As they are traveling away, as they are trying to dig down deep, and they have players who have the experience to do this. They showed it multiple times throughout the USL Championship playoffs last season. Is there anything that carries over, or is this kind of like, it's a wash, this is a different knockout competition, doesn't translate?
It's based on what I've seen from this team specifically over the years. I can't see how it is the same, because the difference is there is a tomorrow if you lose the Open Cup. Whereas they know if we lose this game, that's it. Our season's over. And most of them go home to wherever they're from, right? Like, we say goodbye to them and we don't know if they're coming back. Like, it's boom. It's a quick change. Like, the whole season ends and you're getting ready for the new one in 2 or 3 months, depending on how deep you went. I think that might be the only mental change to where it's like, we got a game at the weekend. Like they know they're not coming home before their next game, right? Like it's just different when you're playing the midweek cup competitions, which obviously in the United States with the playoff system we have is completely different than what we have in Europe. But you just hope that they can take what happened last year in that madness run that they went on and just have it. And I don't expect Cuejo to be scoring goals in the 90th. I don't expect them to be doing what they did. But have the fight. This North Carolina team, I don't think is very good. They're very beatable. No one goes to these games the midweek. Like, the crowd is not going to be the same as if you were playing them during a weekend game. I don't think the influence from their crowd is going to be as strong. I think this is a good opportunity on the road to get a win for an East Coast game, which the East Coast travel doesn't always necessarily bode well for Phoenix.
Yeah, no, it definitely does not always. I mean, I'm seeing Andrew's comment in the chat, and that's a kind of a great thing to ponder. You know, we are curious about what the roster turnover and what that looks like within the starting 11. Who's going to be named in the squad? I wonder if the Ryan Flood or JP is going to get a start tomorrow, given it is a secondary competition, something to compete. We saw, the starting 11 remain unchanged within that week-long span. If we're kind of looking ahead into, how much Phoenix Rising does or does not value the Open Cup, a team can say that they're going to win, they want to win and they want to compete, but we'll call it what it is. Most of it's going to be determined by who you're naming to your starting 11, who you're putting on your bench, and how much those bench players are going to be playing minutes. The latter, we're not going to be able to know until second half, but we're going to get a very clear indication when that starting lineup is named on what Phoenix Rising looks like and how they value this competition.
And just to add even to that is the fact that you're playing Detroit on Saturday, and that is a fortress that they play in. Like,
it's a crazy statement to say, but yes.
But it's like they don't lose at home, man. Like, if you're lucky to get a draw against them, they're a different team on the road. But like when you play Detroit over there, like a point is a good result. So then it's okay. So one of these games is winnable more likely than not, but they're two different competitions. Yeah, man, like we don't know what they actually care about until the lineup's set. Because that those are the cards. That's him. That's you revealing your hand.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think that's the thing is if you're Danny Stone, you're always knowing like, hey, you're going to need to balance minutes over the course of this season, and guys working back into fitness. Those are all little microcosms of what you have to manage. But I'd have to imagine from a managerial standpoint that you more or less have to have a short-term memory, especially whether it's multiple competitions or not, of, hey, we want to play the best possible lineup. And that takes into factor not only talent, but also where guys are at from a fitness level and everything like that. I don't know if you are looking super far ahead, certainly not into next week, maybe not even into Detroit, but listen, do I think he's going to name a full starting unchanged 11? No, because I think purely from a fitness standpoint, everything like that, you're definitely going to see some changes. A lot of the guys, especially in those attacking and midfield positions where we're doing a lot of running. However, would I be surprised if, you're naming, possibly dare I say Rocco Rios Novo? Maybe it's an unchanged back line. Anything could happen. It wouldn't shock me if that changed, but it also would surprise me whatsoever if we're going to keep a similar defense, change out some of the auxiliary pieces within the midfield, and let's go from there. Let's actually have a real shot at this thing.
Yeah, I would expect to see maybe Jose starts.
Yeah.
But who do you take out? Julio or Renzo? Right? It's like...
Yeah.
And then you're just getting into tough scenarios. So now you have... So Panos, Emi, Fede. It's been Emi and Panos. I doubt they both start if we're trying to do some rotation. But which one are you taking out?
Ooh.
Or do you play them half and half and then have like a three-way rotation? Like, I mean, that's what Danny gets paid to make the decisions for.
100%. Yeah.
Is Remy going to play 90? Is he going to play 3 times in 8 days, basically?
Good question. Yeah.
Because there's no like for like change.
Yeah.
I think Darius is a different type of player.
Yeah.
Do you want to present a different playing style against the certain teams that play differently? I mean, you can do a lot of different things. It just like it just sucks. We literally won't know until the lineup's out, and then that's when it's like, okay, this is what they're doing.
Yes. I mean, there are quite a lot of choices on this team, just like there's a lot of choices at our friends at Circle K. Circle K, they have all the different choices for you to choose from, right? When you're going into any of their, many plentiful convenience stores, gas stations, everything like that. And, one of their key options, I think, is always going to be, I don't even say I can't think. I know it's always going to be in their starting 11, should be in your starting 11, should be first on the team sheet, as they say, is their Polar Pop. And, when you're in the transfer market, you're searching for people to add to, your squad. The Polar Pop must be on there because not only is it delicious, it's great bang for your buck, but also you can get it at a darn bargain. 69 cents? 69 cents.
That's a nice deal.
I would reckon it is.
That's a nice deal.
It's quite a nice deal. It's quite a nice deal. For our friends at Circle K. If you are an Inner Circle member, that is the only way you can get that 69 cent Polar Pop now through September 3rd. Again, download the Circle K app, opt into their Inner Circle program with just a phone number. You get a 69 cent Polar Pop. It's getting hot out here. Things are heating up. I'm not just talking about Open Cup season. Hey-o. It is a perfect time to get a Polar Pop. You can put whatever you want in that bad boy. Check out the Inner Circle program. Again, so many more benefits, as you already know. 25 cents off your first 5 fill-ups. 25 cents off per gallon after your first 5 fill-ups, right? You get, you can join the Polar Pop Club, join the Pizza Club, all these different things that they have where it just gives you free and discounted items purely just by being a member, which is already free in itself. Again, download Circle K app, opt in, Inner Circle program. Terms and conditions do apply. See store locations for more details. And also, of course, shout out our friends at OG's Brands. Friends at OG's Brands, they pair pretty darn nicely with some Circle K, right? They have their different flavors, right? The big OGs, the minis, the fruits, the creams, whatever you partake in. There's going to be a lot going on this week. It's not a bad way to decompress with our friends at OG's Brands. A little gummy goes a long way, right? They have their sweet clementine flavor with their OG's Naturals. You're looking for that vegan type of gummy, right? You have those, you kind of want that au naturel, as they say. Check out their OG's Naturals. Again, whether you want the big OGs, which is 100 milligrams, or the minis, which are 3, they have something for literally everyone. Whether you're kind of curious or a seasoned veteran, check out OG's Brands at ogsbrands.com and find them on socials at OG's Brands. You must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. All right, so we're kind of looking at how Rising, right, mentioned they have a lot of players that they can choose from. The rotation is going to be really interesting. I think the other thing is how whoever they line up with, we would expect, and I could be wrong on this, but where they might be able to gain an advantage over this North Carolina team is Phoenix Rising has a pretty decent bench options. Listen, we're not going to say that they're, not every single one is world beaters or everything like that. It's USL, it's a different type of caliber. However, I would venture to say that purely based on the guys that they return, the chemistry and everything like that, Phoenix Rising, good chance they have a deeper bench than North Carolina, very, very much indicated within the table position, which we'll get into in a sec. And I think that also could be a very big difference of you're making those earlier subs. You know that you have guys who have been starting a lot of these games, right? Definitely going to see a lot of outfield switches. And it'll be curious to see how early you bring them on in the second half. If those are halftime substitutions, if there are going to be, those 50th minute, 60th minute switches, because that's how you can also break down this team. I think the Open Cup, as we saw where, Tulsa scored an 88th minute winner against Pittsburgh right before he came on. These matches go deep. It's not just about the first half. It's not just about the first 60 minutes or 70 minutes. It really, really could come down to, is a team tired enough to give you something within those last 15, 20 minutes? And we've seen Rising has a lot of players to exploit that. And dare I say, listen, if we even, go to pens or whatnot, I like our chances with who we've had in goal.
You want Quajo taking another pen?
I did not say that. I did not say that. Do not quote me on that.
If he does take another pen, though, I would love to see his put his laces through. I heard it in training. He just puts them in the corners.
That's what he does. He does not in pens, but what are we seeing?
Anyway, I love that you brought up Pittsburgh because this is my biggest question. Which team is going to show up? Yeah. The one that played Pittsburgh or the one that played Sac?
That's a question.
Because Pittsburgh's not good.
No.
And you lost 3-1 at home. And then you played Sac, who's very good.
Yeah.
And you played toe-to-toe. So are you playing down to your competition? Were you pumped for Sac? And that's a mentality thing if you ever play down. If that ever happens, that's a mentality thing. Like, that should never happen. That's on leadership. That's on coaching. This North Carolina team's not good.
Yeah. This
is a game that they're expected to, at bare minimum, perform.
Yep.
Play well,
yep.
Create chances, don't make stupid mistakes, and that should put you in the position to take a chance and win a game.
Yeah.
Doesn't got to be 3-0, but you shouldn't lose either 3-0. You shouldn't lose 3-1 the way you lost to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about motivation, right? I mean, and I think this is often the trap that gets discussed within Open Cup is, okay, different levels of competition, all that stuff. Maybe you play up against an MLS opponent. It's a USL Championship opponent. This is not, and this is no disrespect, this is not some team in the third, fourth tiers of, American soccer or anything like that. This is a team who's within the same league as you. Are they performing worse? Yes. But this is not something where if you can't get up for this, if you can't say, hey, we have an opportunity to advance far in this competition, or at the very least, farther than we have in quite some time, going to the round of 16, being able to travel to either Louisville, who they are always going to be one where that's how you measure yourself within this league, or traveling to the Pacific Northwest against the Seattle Sounders, depending on how that matchup plays out. I mean, if you can't get up for that, what are we doing?
I mean, I'm just looking at Rhode Island, North Carolina. They played this past weekend. I feel like it's a similar matchup. You have a brand new USL team. We really don't know what to expect because it's an East Coast team and we don't have familiarity, which I think is what helped Phoenix against Sac, just because if I'm not mistaken, Danny has been at Rising and Briggs has been at Sac the whole time. So every time they game plan for Sac, it's been the same head coach. Like, there's a familiarity how Sac's gonna play, and I'm sure it's vice versa. And I'm almost positive that's why you see the game flow the way it went, to where it's, we know you want to try this, we know you want to try this. We took away our first thing. It's like, hey, whose secondary stuff's gonna work, right? And it's a draw. So I think you could see in teams like in North Carolina where you don't have familiarity, you're going based purely off of what you've seen in 2 months?
Yeah.
So it could be a game where you just break it open because you find a strategy that works. It's one of those I would be very disappointed. I know Danny would be. I think the whole organization would be extremely disappointed if they came out flat and were embarrassed. Like,
very much so.
Purely because of who you're playing. Like, if they were playing Louisville and they got embarrassed like a 2 or 3-0 and you were playing in Louisville, you're like, I mean, that team looks like they might win it.
Yeah.
And maybe Charleston looks phenomenal too. But it's like, there's different levels. There's different expectations going into games. At some point, they got to start winning the games that they're expected to win.
They are. And it's, you're looking at how these two teams are trending, and maybe this is recency bias. Phoenix Rising is on a 2-match unbeaten streak, right? They went to Rhode Island. They were far and away the better team. One real self-inflicted mistake, and that was really the only sniff that Rhode Island had. They outclassed them. Rhode Island was a team that they should have beat, and they did handedly. And yet, to your point, said the same thing against Pittsburgh the week before at home. Rising stunk the bed. It was almost the exact opposite. You then look at to this last matchup, which again we already discussed. Sacramento, the class of the league in the West, and they went toe to toe. Did they dominate? No. Did Sac dominate? No. So it really does depend. Are you able to utilize that momentum? Are you able to kind of ride with the hot hand that has been Remy Corral, that has been your defense, who by and large, in the last 2 matches hasn't conceded anything overly terrible. They've been pretty solid, right? You're talking about those 2 matches, 2 goals, and one of them, kind of nothing special against Rhode Island. Like, I like their chances, because then you look at this North Carolina team in their last, and of course, as always, shout out Stylac Reese, in their last 9 matches, 1 win. One more time. In their last 9 matches, this North Carolina team, 1 win, 4 draws, 4 losses. They're losing almost half of their matches, 8 goals scored, 12 goals conceded, 10 expected goals that they should have been scoring, 6.5 expected goals conceded. This is a team where, yes, they beat up Carolina Core in their last Open Cup matchup, a 1-0 win. Yes, they outclassed them in terms of shots and XG and chances created and possession and field tilt. But that is a team that they are expected to beat. When North Carolina has gone up against mostly anyone in this league, they have not fared well. Phoenix Rising has to step up to the challenge, because if there is a match that is winnable, that you have no excuse of saying, hey, this is a matchup where you should advance within the Open Cup, it's very easy to make that claim against lower level teams. You're not playing a lower level team. You're playing a team in your own league who you should be beating.
It was match day 1. How the hell did this team draw Charleston?
I don't know.
Was what's-his-face not playing?
That's crazy.
The dude who just scores 6 goals a game?
It was raining like really, really hard that match, if I remember right.
I mean, that was match day 1. You're a different team. But you look at some of the opponents that they've tied. They've tied Tampa at home. They lost to New Mexico at home. They tied Birmingham, which came to Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've played some similar opponents. I mean, they lost to Loudoun 3-1.
I mean,
say what you want about the MLS2 teams, but like, you shouldn't be getting embarrassed. I don't know, man. This is getting to the point with the Open Cup stuff because we didn't have it, right? For a few years. What was it? 2 years we didn't have it, I believe. And so we kind of lost our, like, not our love for it, but like we lost the, like, oh, we have the Open Cup. And every year you got excited for it because there's that chance you get to host the MLS team. And then that dream faded away. And then we had all the bullshit this preseason with the MLS talking about not wanting to be a part of it, and U.S. Soccer forcing them to be a part of it if you want to have all the sanctions and all that, blah blah blah. This is a competition that you actually could win for the first time. A USL team could win.
Yeah.
Why not, man?
Yeah.
I mean, given the future of this cup competition might not exist in 5 years. It might be called something different. Someone with money or more incentives to keep MLS interest might have to come along. Like that's a legitimate state of the business.
Yeah. The partnerships in me is like
ding ding ding.
Is
ding.
like ding ding ding, but like the Sagar Pierce in me is like, no, don't let that happen. So yeah. No, man, honestly, I agree. It's
gotta watch out for those MLS partners, man.
Listen, the Open Cup, it's a magical time. We all love it, and it's way better when your team is in it, when your club is in it, and you're actually able to enjoy the competition that much more. Also, the chat, you guys are going wild. What is this, all this Premier League talk and fantasy Premier League talk, and we don't care about Aston Villa or Man U? Everyone stop. I will answer Andrew's chat because it's a very fair question. I think Panos should start. He could play as a number 10 for a competition like this one. Why not? It's that time of the show. And I will ask for predictions here in a minute, but let's actually do an exercise. We haven't been able to do this in quite some time with the Open Cup. Let's kind of walk through, right? Where do we kind of see this formation being shaken out, at least from a starting 11 standpoint, okay? Chat, feel free to chime in as well. We're going to go front to back as one does. Goalkeeper, we going Rocco Rios Novo, we going Rakowski.
So Kevin brought up a good point, but I still think it's a little too early.
From above Olympics.
Right.
Yep.
I still think it's a little too early.
I would agree.
Because you still have 2 months roughly of Rocco.
Yep.
If he goes. I would put Rocco in still. I mean, this is one you have to win.
Yeah.
You need to win it. Give yourself the opportunity to go play the MLS team. Like, there's no reason why Rocco shouldn't play.
I agree. And this is no slight to Rakowski. Like, I get it. There's going to be games and other situations where, like, he will be in there, especially, right, Rocco, Olympics, whatever all that looks like. But no, I think the way Rocco plays, and especially if, let's say, there are shifts to the back line, you want your most stable performing goalkeeper in there. I agree. Rocco remains unchanged. Back line, right, been rolling with Mo Traore, John Stenberg, Fuenmayor. I also might go on a limb. I would say, barring some sort of fitness, which again, Fuenmayor, has been starting and playing, certainly plenty of minutes, worked his way back for over a number of matches. Stenberg has been doing it even longer.
But John gets a break.
And I was going to say, unless barring just giving a guy a break, and I would even say, even if any of those guys aren't starting, very much big candidates to come on and play all, if not the majority of the second half. I would not be surprised if it goes unchanged. I will probably maybe say, I would say there's maybe one change purely just based on rest and guys getting back into fitness.
I wouldn't be shocked if Wyke starts for somebody.
Yeah.
Just looking how in terms of formation as well. Like obviously they went back to the three back system, and North Carolina plays with 4 midfielders, so you can't play a 3 midfield system and you're just gonna get outnumbered. The way that Rising plays, you're not gonna be able to do it. You're gonna have to play with 4 in the mid just to even out the numbers there. But that creates a lot of 1v1s on your wings. So hopefully wing play. I mean, because I know we're skipping ahead, but are we counting the defenders as wing backs? Are we counting the wing backs as midfielders?
It's fair. I traditionally count them as midfield, but it's to each their own. Tomato. Tomato.
So the question is, who do you want? Do you want Gabby? You want Rito? You want Azakar? What style of player do you want?
To me, I mean, it depends on how you. I mean, again, like I think the wing backs, we have really great depth there, but there's a lot of different. It depends on what your flavor is. Again, we've said multiple times, if you go with Azakar and or Rito, you're looking at guys who are a bit more direct, who really use that pace to kind of threaten the offensive attacking third, both in crosses and in shots, but they're maybe not as likely to put into shift. Rito, I would say a little bit more so than Azakar. Gabby is very much going to be a guy who's going
Forget about Ryan Flood.
Of course, Gabby is going to be a guy who's going to give you that entire shift up and down the flank. Maybe where he sacrifices a bit, I would say, in that final third, he's able to put more of a shift. I agree. I tend to agree with Siley, especially if we haven't seen Gabby starting in a hot match or two. I would say he probably starts, or I would like to see him start on that left-hand side in place of Azakar. And depending on, I mean, if he's good to go, I would not mind seeing him and Rito balanced. You're able to overload that side a bit and go from there. That's kind of what I'm looking at with the wingbacks. Your thoughts?
I expected at least one change, just because they're the guys that run the most, right? Usually you get a double swap in a match anyway. Maybe Danny goes 45 and 45, maybe 60 and 30, right? But if you're talking about these guys are playing 3 games in 8 days, so they're gonna get rest for sure. Julio and Renzo, one of them's gonna sit for Jose, 100%. It's because Jose's gonna need to cut. He needs to get some playing time.
Yep.
I was shocked to see him left out of the match day on Saturday.
Yep.
But I mean, hey, you only have 7 slots for your senior guys, right? And you got the 2 academy kids slots for home games. But it's like, you made a good point, man. I mean, the depth this team has compared to a North Carolina side who maybe, I mean, how are they taking the game?
Yeah.
Are they making rotations? And like you said, well, then their secondary players. I mean, Rising's definitely got some guys that can probably start that are battling for playing time here.
1000%. Seeing in the chat, if you can scroll up just a little bit, good.
Gallardo wasn't in the match day.
A little bit more. All right, let's see. We got a lot of, let's see. Kevin in the chat, team does not want extra time. Okay, so playing for a win. He's saying give Flood a start. Are we going to be playing a weaker team? Yes, very much so. Devin on the chat. Yes, this is very important. Max bet on the Open Cup as it stands. It's 4 for 4. We got the 9-legger going. Octopus with an extra tentacle in there, baby. Shout out our friends at BetMGM. Let's go. Kevin as well. Stenberg and Fuenmayor both still holding off recent injuries. That's a fair point, kind of what we were alluding to earlier. And then, Pat Marboy playing the Carolinas. You'll want to play. That is a great shout. Yeah, I definitely.
That's a great point.
Kind of going back to the defense real quick. I very much, can see Wyke slotting in, Pat Marboy slotting in for one of those guys. I don't think all 3 change. I would not be surprised if 1 or 2 do. I personally would say keeping Stenberg in the middle, but you never know. Yes, Stevenall, shocker, wants Gallardo, but that does bring us to kind of the midfield, like a little bit like you mentioned. I know you were touching on Jose Andres Hernandez. I agree. I think he slots in there. The question does become, is it for Renzo or is it for Julio? I think it's really pick your poison. I'm gonna go maybe slotting in for Renzo. It just gives you, it's not really a like for like replacement, but I think if Julio is a bit more of the more dynamic one, I would rather keep him in there if you're going to swap out Jose for Renzo. So keeping him in there, and then yeah, that's kind of your, the kind of triangle within there. Then you kind of moving up into the number 10s. That's going to be the very interesting one. I think especially as this game goes on, I like the idea of bringing on some of those creative players. Maybe you start off with some combination of what's it called? A Gallardo and a Fede Varela.
Okay. And you bring Emmy and Panos both off the bench?
Good.
My preference in terms of if I was starting my preferred 11, I would always want Julio, Panos, and Emmy.
Sure.
I can go back and forth between Renzo and Jose, and I think it just matters on what we're trying to accomplish in that game with that player. Like if we need to be on the ball more, I would like Jose. If I need a guy who can kind of clean up for me a little bit, I'll take Renzo.
Sure.
But given that this is a midweek tie, I think Fede starts for sure almost at this point, just because I would be shocked to see the same starting 11 from those double 10s, 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row. If I had to guess, Panos probably doesn't start.
Yeah.
And then comes off the bench, because Panos off the bench that's a different animal. Like that introduces you to a type of play. If you bring him in at about 60,
yeah,
that's 30 minutes of like, oh, they weren't playing like this earlier.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? But dude, like, cause you could put Gallardo in as well, and Gallardo brings a different aspect to the table. I think Gallardo's more direct, likes to be a little bit more out wide. If you wanted to have a more defensive wing back on his side so that he can take that space a little bit more. Again, man, that's the North Carolina 3-back system. So you have the outsides. I think Gallardo, the guys who love the ball on the wings by themselves are gonna be the ones that start for this match. So
yeah,
who knows, man? You might get Danny to start Darish over Remy.
Well, so that's actually what I was going to leave for last. I very much can see that happening. I mean, I think Remy, he's had a run of games. He's played a ton of those minutes.
A lot of minutes.
And again, it's the combination of being able to, if you are chasing a goal or you need a goal to break through, having him come on board is not a bad look. And also, again, Darius in a non-position. Again, we've got a record saying don't think it's his preferred position, but the guy could use a nice game like this, gets him back into a good little mojo. And I think taking advantage of a team like this, I think he can eat. So I like that. I might even make almost a Max Simpson darn near guarantee of Darish over Remy, purely just from that minute standpoint.
April Player of the Month nominee, Remy Cabral. Although I think Markanic has got that puppy all sewn up.
Yeah. So if we're kind of mapping this out, I believe we're gonna go Rocco. I'm gonna say Motrari slots in there. Stenberg slots in there. We'll put Pat Marboy in for Fuenmayor. In the middle, we'll go Julio along with Jose Andres Hernandez. And then out wide, we'll do Gabby Torres. We'll do Powerito. And then we'll go in the middle. I actually do like that Quajo shout. The Quajo shout alongside. Alongside. It would
have to be Fede.
Yeah, I mean it might. Yeah,
Fede hasn't started in 2 matches.
Might as well be Fede. Yeah, Fede, and then I'll go Darius from L up top. Like that.
It's a lot of changes.
It's a lot. I mean, so what is that? Well, it's like half and half.
So 2 in the defense.
It's like half and half. That's not uncommon.
2, 1, 1, 2. So that's 6.
Yeah, it's about half and half. That's not. And here's the thing. I know, and it's funny because now we're talking about we're gonna put out how this team is gonna fare based on who they put out. You can argue that a lot of those minutes are purely just like accumulation, and it's not saying that they're playing a weaker team or they're trying to play a weaker team. It's purely maybe bargaining for the second half, guys chasing the goal. You want to give guys a little bit of a breather. Again, I think the main indicator is going to be who do they roll out in a goalkeeper and who do they roll out in the defense. Everything else, I'm not saying that it's not important, but you can manufacture a goal. You can play for a tight game. This team, I don't think, would feel uncomfortable going to penalties. Those are the 2 key indicators. Do you go with Rocco or is it Rakowski? And how changed is that back line? If you have 2 or 3 new guys in there, listen, they have depth, but that to me maybe screams, okay, this maybe is as not much of a priority. We're going to see.
Andrew, to answer your question, no. Rising would play the winner of Seattle and Louisville, and that game would be in either Seattle or Louisville on May 21st or May 22nd.
Yep. Don't mind Reese. He's just trying to squash my bets, but it's already swung back in my favor as it does. Yeah, Kevin, that's a very good point, JP. I actually, man, I really don't hate that at all. That's a really good shout. It's possible. It's very possible. Who do you kind of based on my lineup? You think a little less changes? What are we thinking here?
I mean, I can 100% see it happen, but to me, it's like 6 changes it's over half the lineup, obviously, and it doesn't leave you with any recent connectivity in matches. Like, I get they train together every single day, and we don't see that. But obviously, there's no mimicking game reps. There's no mimicking an actual match. Fede or Pano should start. And then Emmy's gonna start, and then whichever one doesn't. Yeah, Remy's playing. That's the thing. It's you're not making changes because you want to. You're making changes because you have to.
Correct.
Like Remy's played a lot of minutes.
I would be shocked if he starts. That again, that's no slight to him. He is a darn near nominee for Player of the Month. It's purely just not only how much has he started. That dude has been hacked. That dude has gotten a lot of kicks in. Like, he has been beat up, and he's got the size for and everything like that. It's not a slight on him. It's just opponents have realized, if you're going to stifle Remy Cabral, that is a lot of our offense.
I think this is what it is. We have said literally since the preseason ended, where is the depth up front? There is none. Mm-hmm. Like, it's they literally have 3 forwards listed on the roster. Yeah. Right? None of them are like each other. Nope. Gallardo is different than Darish, who's different than Remy. So they can't even fill in for each other. So that's why I think mentally, I'm having an issue with taking Remy out and putting in Formella, because it's like, okay, well, we don't have a target 9 now. We have a guys who want to pass with each other, but Remy's that 9 that just says, give me the ball, I'm going to shoot it, and someone else can get a rebound or something. And then you look at the midfield underneath the 2 defensive midfielders, you have 3 guys who can play those spots. So it's like, okay, I'm fine with whichever 2 out of the 3. And you can do the rotation to where it's like, okay, you play 60, you play 60, you play 60. And we'll all share our legs and we'll all get a job done.
Yep.
But guys are returning from injury. I think the depth is everywhere but up top. And I'm just worried about what this team has been struggling with, which is consistently scoring. And if you're going to take out the only guy who's consistently been scoring for you, I'm just nervous of who's the guy that's going to put the ball in the net.
Yep.
Because we've seen them create chance after chance. It's just Remy's the one that's been consistent.
Yep.
So, and like all strikers know, like, it's all about confidence.
Yeah, it is. We going boot runners now. Darn right. Reese, how many changes from Saturday? Give me a number. Go.
6.
Okay, agrees with me.
7.
Hey, Eric, what do you think? How many changes from Saturday? Come on.
5.
Okay, we like it. Well, I'll ask you for your score prediction in just a second, because, guys, you can't have a score prediction without our friends at Four Peaks. Four Peaks. They like the beer. They got the good beer. It is what we indulge in because it's that time, right? A little Bad Birdie, juicy golden ale. It is fantastic for Open Cup season. Open Cup is the competition for Phoenix Rising and Four Peaks. Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale is the beer for you. Again, check them out. They got the A Street Pub, as you know. And yeah, you can find them pretty much darn near everywhere beer is sold. Again, check them out at fourpeaks.com to find a little beer locator where you can find those beers. Of course, you can follow them on socials at Four Peaks Pub and at Four Peaks Brew, and you must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Also, shout out our friends at Valley Taproom. Valley Taproom is a fantastic place to watch the Open Cup if you are on the east side. Yeah, they got the Queen Creek and Gilbert locations. Check them out in person. Of course, they got the wine slushies, multiple different types of beer. Four Peaks is, of course, there. And they got the karaoke, trivia, all these different types of things. Again, check out my man Donald. Tell him I sent you. Say what's up. Check them out in person. Again, Queen Creek, Gilbert, and on socials at Valley Taproom. All right. Chat's saying a lot of stuff. Let's get that score prediction. Mr. Jake Anderson. First, I'll ask you this. Does it go to Pens?
No.
Okay. All right. Then what is your score prediction?
2-1 and 90 Rising.
Okay. Interesting. I will go.
But
Okay. Oh, whoa.
all 3 goals were scored in the second half.
Oh my, I like that. That's pretty darn open cup. That is pretty darn open cup. Okay, Kevin in the chat, 3-1 Rising. Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna go 1-1. Okay. Rising isn't one to keep clean sheets so far this season, at least certainly not at a consistent. Really, even going back to last season, just hasn't really been a thing. So I'm gonna go 1-1. It goes to pens, and Rising takes it home. Give me, it's gonna be a nail biter. Give me 3-2 in pens, but it's 1-1 scoreline with 3-2 in pens.
At what point does the 5 consecutive missed? What was it? How did we phrase it?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So Rocco,
Okay, this is a great stat.
The last 5 times someone has stepped up to the spot against Rocco, they have failed to put the ball in the net.
That's it.
Whether they missed the target or Rocco saved it, it's 5 straight times. So how many times in that shootout until they finally score?
I'm gonna go with they say the attacker will miss whether saved or not the first one, and then one goes in.
So 6. So he'll get to 6.
He'll get to 6.
Okay.
He'll get to 6. Reese clipped that that entire Rocco exchange. Yeah. You're looking at me very confused. What's up?
Isn't it already 6? Hasn't he saved 2 already this year? Missed 1, and then 3 in the final.
We're trying to do the math on this.
Is it 2 this year or 3?
I think it was already 2 this year.
I thought it was
Saved
2.
Rhode Island, Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I feel like there's 1 more.
Chad, help us out. If you can out stat lackey the stat lackey, that'd be pretty something.
I thought it was 5 because I thought it was 2 this year.
I like how you ask in the comments, isn't it up to 6 now? And then you also we're now talking about it. Let's see. All right. While you're looking it up, Siley 3-0. Panos scores a hat trick. I mean, obviously, of course. Kevin in the chat, boo Reese. Yeah, why not? Boo. Yeah.
No, Kevin, there are no replays.
Yeah, there are no replays. Good call. Wow, what a stat. Has that ever happened for a keeper? I would
probably.
I mean, to be fair, this is also, I guess, a very unconventional way to keep track because it's going off of a shootout and then random one-off penalties. So possibly, but also no one's crazy enough to track it. I would say like us, but I mean, yeah, that's you good, sir. Yeah, okay, Andrew, might be an ugly 1-0 win tomorrow. Can't remember last time I won an Open Cup game comfortably. Dude, that's exactly it. I think it's going to be, whether it's a high scoring or not, I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be nail biting. And I agree. I think it's going to be in the second half, everything.
Was the last one Greensville Triumph? And it was 1-0, but they had like 1,000 shots.
Carlos Harvey, I remember that. Yeah, that was an ugly one. That was at home. That was, oh gosh.
Is that Sean's?
No.
Dude, the years are starting.
No, that was last season.
That was last season. That was last year.
That was last year in like late April, dude. A while ago.
Dude, that feels like it was like
4
years ago.
Feel old. Yeah, that's how you. Yeah.
Damn.
Man, it's crazy. Goodness. Well, let's check out. Right. Keep on throwing in your. Everyone, keep on throwing in your predictions, all that stuff. Let's take a look at what's going on around Open Cup. Yeah, Damon is producing D-backs. If you got quick aside, keep on watching us, of course, but also if you want, pull up a separate little tab, go in and go watch the PHNX D-backs show just for a millisecond, just to go chat at Damon and go lump in a Wrexham chat. He'll get a real kick out of that. But yeah, and keep on watching us, of course. But let's take a look at what's going on in the Open Cup. Again, so far, so good with the bets. Pittsburgh Riverhounds down against Tulsa. That is a little bit of an upset. Atlanta United 3-0 over Charlotte Independence. It was actually like 0-0 until the 50th something minute. So Atlanta United pulls away. Houston Dynamo drawing right now 3-3 against Detroit City. I need Houston Dynamo to win this in order to go. And then Dallas and Memphis. I have that as a draw. It currently stands as a 0-0 draw. Go from there. Again, a couple more matches to play this evening. Orange County against Loudoun. Going to be kicking off pretty much right as we end the podcast, along with the Earthquakes against Oakland Roots. And then an old USL little, dare I say, Coastal Derby matchup. Sacramento Republic, Monterey Bay. kicking off at 7:30. Then tomorrow, right, there's too many matches to read. I'm not going to read them all. But again, the big headliner, stamp it, put it in there. Eric's going to hate me for clapping in the mic. North Carolina, again, takes on Phoenix Rising at 4 p.m. That's local, by the way. That's not Eastern or Mountain. That's Arizona time. Let's go.
Kevin, to answer your question, Rising is not coming home. They're going to go from North Carolina to Detroit.
Great call. Yeah, a lot of Open Cup stuff. Gotta love it. You know what else we love? Guys, how about that? Welcome to Wrexham. That Wrexham, that team, they're great.
Biggest club in Wales,
baby. Let's go. Jake, you've heard us catching up on the Wrexham fever. Has it caught you a bit?
Yeah, I'm a fan of teams that win and get promoted. And
heck yeah, we love that. I mean, they're
represent their country.
You're darn right.
Much better than Cardiff does.
Woo! Clip that too, baby. Yeah, let's go. Oh man, I mean. Listen, on the PH Next Wrexham podcast, I mean, we're not biased or anything like that, but I mean, just maybe a little bit. It's just a top club. It's what we do. And again, this is a nice little, it's going straight to Detroit. Yeah, and I don't think he's coming back at this point. On this podcast, again, we want to remind you guys, if you guys leave us a review and you rate and review us on podcast platforms, especially Apple Podcasts. I guess that's not a free ad, but you know what I mean? Boom. We will read that review. And what would you have here? What is one of our recent reviews, like we mentioned, just so happens, wow, Damon Dog, I wonder who that could be, but my favorite Wrexham podcast. And I quote, if you love AFC Wrexham, the biggest club in Wales, you'll love this pod. Owen might be the biggest Wrexham fan in the world, and it shows in the passion of his coverage. Also, shout out Ryan and Rob. Again, that's what we do here on the PHNX Wrexham podcast.
It's a shame that Owen's not here, to see that review, because I know how much it would mean for him, considering all the blood, sweat, and tears he's put into Wrexham,
it is.
And how much he just loves his core. I know it pains him to not be here.
It does. Right, and you know what? Sally Reese, please clip that one as well. But just for double measure, maybe we even run that review back when he's back on.
I think more people need to leave Wrexham reviews, and we can read it for Owen.
Yeah, that's very understandable. Yes, Devin, you have Cardiff, just like Crystal Palace, always mid-table. Reese, let's go Wrexham. Boom. Yeah, I love it, man. A lot of pro Wrexham in the chat. Again, give us a 5-star review, preferably, and rate us on Apple Podcasts, and you get your review read. But that'll do. Oh my gosh, what an image. That's that handsome devil. Anything else here on the PHNX Rising podcast before we head out of here, Mr. Jake?
Hopefully next time we speak, we're speaking about a Rising team that's won an Open Cup match.
Would you like to give an address to the people and or Phoenix Rising, a little run through a brick wall banter?
Like a motivational speech for this club?
You may if you'd like.
I'm not one for screaming at people. But I'll say this, all right? I've been following this team since 2018 for 7 years now, I think. Long ass time, all right? Seeing what they did last year, holy shit. Cannot believe they did it still. Like I said earlier, I'm not asking you to win the competition. But in a cup that you have literally just been dog shit every single time in this competition, you have lost to New Mexico United at home. Like you've in pens, like you've lost games that you shouldn't lose. I just want to see them beat North Carolina. I expect them to lose to Seattle or Louisville. That's a tough ass place to play either way. Make the round of 16. Do something you've never done in this club's history, and you can say in a 5-6 month span, you have done two things that this club has never done before, that this entire fan base has waited almost a decade for. And if you go back to the United and Wolves days, you've been waiting even longer. It's a round of 16. I'm not asking for much. Go beat a dog shit North Carolina side. I'm done.
Let's go. You already know. Clip that too.
Kevin, no, buddy, they will not.
Buddy, I'm giving you like 5 or 6 golden ones. It's gonna be bullet board material. But that'll do it here on the PHNX Rising podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us again. As a programming reminder, we will be back tomorrow during postgame. Okay, so a little Wednesday edition for you again. Match starts around 4, depending on if there's penalties. We will be on normal time after the match is over, give or take 6 o'clock, and then we'll be back the following day, Thursday, 6 p.m. per usual. Again, tomorrow postgame, Thursday, 6 p.m., and then Saturday back at you again with postgame. It is a loaded week. But of course, you can follow us with all the updates at PHNX__rising, because double the underscore.
Double the fun.
Double the fun, my man. Double the fun. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow Mr. Jake Anderson on Twitter at JWA1994. You can follow, I'll give Owen a shout. You can follow Owen on Twitter at OJEvans18. Tell him how big of a Wrexham fan you are. You can follow Stat Like Reese on Twitter at Reese11_. You can follow Eric Ruby on Twitter at Eric Ruby. You can follow Jacob Franklin. Where can we follow Jacob Franklin? Where can we follow Jacob Franklin?
Do you actually do you not remember?
Oh, of course
or
I
are you just
remember.
having a bet?
I'm not gonna be insulted. Of course I know the man's but I'm an additional. I appreciate you showing me. I don't need his Twitter platform. I know where to follow him on Twitter or X or whatever the people are calling it. And I hope it's Twitter. But you can follow Jacob as well on he might have we last time we plugged he's gonna drop a diss track. I think you can find him on Yelp again.
On Yelp?
Little food review. He's a big foodie. Yeah, follow him on Yelp. Yeah.
He do be eating good.
He's
always eating good in the office.
He's a stocky fellow. But yeah.
No, he's not. He is not.
Tall? I don't know. You know what I mean.
But stocky's wide, isn't it?
Shoot, he's a
lanky guy.
Yeah, but that doesn't do it justice. The man might be tall, but he's like, you can't move that man. He's got a good base about him. And that'll do it here on the PHNX Rising podcast.
All right.
It's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when Phoenix Rising will go into tomorrow for the Open Cup battle of the year so far. See you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.